So our question on our quiz was based on a 2004 question 2, and you may want to look that up, but I'm not going to go into details on it. But slips and falls are very dangerous to the health of individuals. Concerned about the dangers of slipping and falling, researchers at the American Podiatry Society, APS, I'm sure they're probably upset with me if this organization exists because I made that up, are examining 2 different types of materials for shoe soles. The sole is the bottom of the shoe or sandal. One shoe sole will be made of a PVC material while the other will be made of rubber. Both shoe soles will have the same tread pattern, but the material looks and feels very differently. All right, so we have material that looks differently, but the same pattern. So initially, the researchers wanted to conduct a match paired experiment with 100 volunteers, design a match paired experiment for the above scenario. So for match paired, generally speaking, this is the way you need to think of it, is an individual receives both treatments. So in this case, what are my treatments? Well, one is the PVC sole and the other is the rubber sole. So I went ahead and defined my treatment groups to make it easy. So group A wears the PVC sole for a month and then wears the rubber sole sandals for another month. Group B wears the rubber sole for a month and then wears the PVC. So we just swapped the order, all right? And we swapped the order to control for things like maybe the 1 month was a rainy month, so we need to make sure that we swap the order because there might be more slips and falls during a rainy month than a dry month. I don't know. So how would I run this? Well, I've told you what my groups are. So I randomly assigned 100 participants to the treatment groups. If I just say I'm going to randomly assign, that's no credit. All right, I have to specifically explain how I'm going to randomly assign. So I'm going to place the 100 names in a hat and mix thoroughly. And then the first 50 names drawn would receive treatment A, and the remaining would receive treatment B. Subjects would record the number of slips and falls for each type of sandal. At the end of 2 months, we would collect the data to determine which sole type was better at reducing the number of slips and falls. So make sure that you always talk about comparison because what you're comparing is your response variable. And here our response variable was the number of slips and falls. So that would get us full credit on a match pair design. And that is something that you need to be prepared to do. Later, one group of researchers decided to conduct a randomized block design with 12 volunteers. The researchers believe that slips and falls are related to age, but not gender. Because researchers want the size of the blocks in an experiment to be equal to the number of treatments, they will use blocks of size 2. They just told you the size. Identify the volunteers by number that would be included in each of the 6 blocks and include the criteria and justification for your blocks. Well, first off, when we block on the variable that we believe is going to have an impact. So they said, in this case, they believe that age had an impact, but not gender, all right? Which was nice of them because I have to say that I'm pretty clumsy. So age has an impact, but not gender. Now, when we block, please note this down. You should probably just make this little pencil note to yourself. You block so that whatever you're blocking are as similar as possible. You're blocking on a common group, but so that they're similar as possible. So when I'm looking at the ages, my 2 closest ages happen to be 22 and 20. Now notice, one of them is a male, one is a female, but they told us here that didn't matter. All right, what mattered was the age, so we grouped them by age here. So basically, these are paired together, so we have the 6 blocks that they asked for that are closest in age regardless of the gender. All right, regardless of the gender. All right, so that would take care of that part. Now, I know y'all didn't have 2 tables, but since I went on to the next one, I've made one here. Another group of researchers believe that slip and falls differ with both age and gender. Uh-oh, now they're telling me that I need to block for both. All right, so I'm going to tell you as a hint, if they ever say they want you to block by gender, do it first. All right, do block by gender first, then block by age. And so what we're going to want, and what you see here, is I have a group of the female blocks and I have the male blocks. So there's no males in the female block and there's no females in the male block. And then among the females, I block them as close in age as possible, and the same with the males. So because the researchers believe that age and gender are both factors in the treatment, I will block by gender first, placing all females in one block and all males in the second block. So we have two groups. I then will block by age so that those nearest in age in the female blocks are placed together and those nearest in age in the male blocks are placed together. Now I'm going to tell you, I made these little tables. You're in the middle of a test. You don't have time to make tables. I'm not sure. I haven't asked Mrs. Lamb, but I suspect that this is the case because I know I love seeing this. I love seeing people making a little box and telling me what's in the box. So they could have said volunteer 1 and 10, and they called it block A. And then the same with 9 and 11, and they just put a B over it. It just makes things really easy. Or if you use Roman numerals, that's fine as well. But just make sure that you box them off like that. It's really easy for us to see, really easy for us to grade. But you do have to put the explanation above as to what you blocked on. And you blocked on the variable that they believe will have the greatest impact. All right. The researchers in part C decided to select 3 of the 6 blocks to receive the PV soles and to give the other 3 blocks the rubber soles. Is this an appropriate way to assign the treatments? And the answer is no. You must randomly assign within the blocks. Here's the issue. It could be that all 3 of the blocks that I chose were female, and all of the female group received the PVC, and all the males received the rubber. Well, then there really wasn't any blocking. Blocking would say that both treatments go to each block. So basically, I'm going to have PVC and rubber, people wearing PVC shoes and rubber shoes in the female group, and people wearing PVC shoes and rubber shoes in the male group. So randomization of treatments must occur within each block. That right there is the gold standard phrase. All right? So to assign treatments, how would I do this? Well, I could have flipped a coin, but I find that more difficult. So I would select one block and put the numbers of the 2 volunteers in a hat and mix. The volunteer whose number is drawn would receive the PVC sole, and the other would receive the rubber sole. I would repeat this process for each of the 6 blocks. This is kind of a shortcut right here. I hope you will use it if you have to block. It speeds our grading up, and it'll shorten your time on the test, which you do need to look for the shortcuts on the test so you don't run into time constraints. All right.